This is probably going to be the most difficult video for the Broncos that I make all year. Week 9, losing by 31 to the Ravens. The reason why this is so frustrating is because coming into this, Denver had won 5 of their last 6 games, and the one game that they lost was to the Chargers, of course, where they had just that abysmal first half. Remember, they lost to the Steelers by 1 score and the Seahawks. So, I mean, coming into this, you're feeling pretty good. The Broncos, they're 5 and 3. They're in the playoffs. If they win this game, all of a sudden everything changes, but they don't. The Broncos, I don't believe they even picked up a first down in the third quarter. They didn't score in the second half. The first half, not great exactly, turning it over. Bo Nix with a pick early on. We saw turnover on downs. The Broncos just not being able to get that extra yard. And the passing attack, despite the Ravens being 32nd in pass defense coming into this, Bo Nix just could not get it going. And yes, the Ravens dominated up front. They won in the trenches, but Nix was just flat out terrible in this game. He was coming into this as the rookie of the month over Jaden Daniels, over Caleb Williams, and he just wasn't able to do much in this one. I think a lot of it was mental too. I mean, Nix, you could tell from a physical standpoint, he was putting his body on the line. He was trying to make plays. He wanted this game as much as anyone out there, but he was just missing throws, missing reads, and he tried to use his legs a little bit too much. Now, Nix is a great athlete. That's something that I talked about when the Broncos selected him in the first round. Remember, they took him number 12th overall. I said Nix is a very underrated athlete. And even Sean Payton himself didn't realize how good of an athlete he is. But Nix in this one, he had to be better at being a pocket passer, just being a quarterback. And he missed a ton of wide open receivers. Now, I am going to go and look at the tape. I mean, the game just ended, so obviously I haven't looked through the tape yet. But you're going to see a lot of misses, and it's not just the throws, but it's the reads, the progressions. Right now, the Broncos, they didn't lose this game because of Bo Nix. Don't get it twisted, right? I know a lot of people like to twist my words. They lost this game for a lot of reasons. I mean, the defense was just flat out abysmal, man, to switch up my words. I mean, Lamar Jackson, 16 of 19 for 280 yards, 3 touchdowns, sacked just one time, 158.3. I believe that's a perfect passer rating. Correct me down below if I'm wrong. I mean, Lamar, he used his legs to escape the pocket. It wasn't like he ran for 80 yards, right? He only ran 3 carries for 4 yards, and that's because of kneel downs. But Lamar was able to buy time, like that touchdown is Zay Flowers. Just overall being able to extend plays. There was a drop by Rashad Bateman, if you guys remember that play where he rolled to his right and just kind of waited for him to backtrack and flipped it out to him. That was a good play. But, Lamar was just, he was the best player on the field in this one. Derrick Henry was the second best. Henry goes 23 of 106 for 4.6 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. He also had a catch for 27 yards out of the backfield. So all of a sudden, you're getting beat. Your defensive line, this is probably the first time all year where consistently the Broncos got beat with their defensive line. The offensive line just dominated them. And then on the other side, the Broncos offensive line got dominated by the Ravens defensive line. Now the Broncos, 30 for 122, 4.1 yards per carry. I do think the yards per carry is a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little bit, I don't want to say like unrealistic, but it doesn't exactly show the game because this game was just over after the third quarter, and the Ravens were running the ball, and the Broncos knew it was coming, so they were able to get stops. And then, well, the Broncos were down big, and instead of throwing the ball, they just ran the ball, right? So it didn't change by much, but I mean, 30 of 122, 4.1 yards per carry. I mean, considering the Broncos haven't ran the ball well this year, like you'll take that, right? If you were to tell me that coming into the game, I would have been like, Bo Nix plays well, the defense plays well, they run over 4 yards per carry, they're winning this game. And then the Ravens at under 4, right? That's how the Ravens win games, is they run the football better than anyone. They're number 1 in the league. But again, it just doesn't show the full story. Lamar was excellent, showed why he's the MVP right now, why he should win his second straight and his third in total. And then Bo Nix looked like a rookie. But you have to remember, nobody was expecting the Broncos to make the playoffs or to win the Super Bowl this year. This, not to say this was a rebuild year, right? Like the Broncos last season, they won 8 games. Like, can you get to 8 games? Can you get to 9 games? Like something like that would have been very, very good. But even the Broncos didn't get there, and Bo Nix got better and better. I mean, that would have been positive too. So the Broncos, they're still in the playoffs, right? I don't think anybody should be overreacting. Anybody should be panicking. Now, it's completely fair to say that, hey, look, the Broncos really aren't that great because they had a chance to prove it against a very good team, and they didn't. Like, that's fair. I'm not denying that. But in terms of that 7th seed, it's between the Colts, Broncos, Bengals, and then a dark horse is going to be the New York Jets. The Dolphins at 2-6, they have a 3% chance, right? With the Jets beating the Texans on Thursday Night Football, they went up to 26%. So essentially, it's going to be a 4-team race. The Broncos have the edge because they have the best record. Now, if the Colts win tonight, all of a sudden they jump the Broncos for that 7th seed. and they'll have a 51% chance versus the 46 from the Broncos. Now, analytics are analytics, right? I mean, it's analytics, but at the same time, I think the Broncos are going to be fine. I'm honestly kind of glad they lost by 31. I would have rather them lost this game. This is going to sound ridiculous. It probably is, but I would have rather them lost this game by 31 versus like lose this game by like 6 points or 3 points, just because it's going to be a wake up call. This team's going to realize, hey, look, we're not as good as we thought. We had a chance to go on the road in a hostile environment and to beat a really good team, the reigning MVP, and we didn't. Now, I think the Broncos will use this as fuel, motivation, and then they'll go to Arrowhead and figure out a way to end the Chiefs. You know, perfect season. The Chiefs are what 8-0 right now. They play on Monday night. Excuse me, the Chiefs are 7-0. They play on Monday night against the Buccaneers. So let's just say they win that game. They're 8-0, and they're at home. They might get a little bit comfortable against the Broncos, a team that they've beaten all but once with Patrick Mahomes. I think correct me if I'm wrong again, but I believe the Broncos' first win over Mahomes was last year with Russ. It was the first time they beat them in the Mahomes era. So, of course, the Chiefs are never just going to take a game off. Like, they're going to be ready to play. But I think Denver just this was a game that they just completely got their asses handed to them. Both sides of the ball were terrible. I mean, like, name one good thing in this game that the Broncos did. I mean, like, I think the one good thing would be Cortland Sutton had another 100-yard game, but, like, does that really even matter? Like, nobody cares about that. It's like, I don't think there was one positive to take away from this game, and that's exactly why I'm not gonna say I'm excited going into the next game. I mean, I'm excited to get to next week, right? Like, as soon as Tuesday hits, it's a new week. You know, week nine's over. That's gonna be good. But it's just kind of a wake up call, I guess, for Denver. Like, hey, Bo Nix is a rookie. I forgot he was a rookie because he was the rookie of the month. The Broncos, like I said, 5 of their last 6. They're playing well, and Bo Nix was not turning it over. I mean, he came into this game, 8 touchdowns to just 1 interception in his last, I think it was 4 or 5 games. So he was playing well. He was playing really just as well as Jaden and Kayla, but unfortunately, again for the Broncos, they weren't able to find a way to win this game. And yeah, I mean, trust me, man, a lot of me didn't even want to make this video. I normally don't make videos after an L, but it's something that I'm trying to do so I can be more consistent. And yeah, so that's really all I got. I mean, you guys can let me know your thoughts on the video. In terms of what's next for the Broncos, it does not get any easier. I mean, I know some of you guys might be thinking, okay, well, Baltimore beat us, whatever. On to the next one. Well, the next one's in Arrowhead. And then after that, at home against the Falcons, at Las Vegas against the Raiders, versus Cleveland, bye week, Colts, Chargers, Bengals, and Chiefs. I mean, those last 4 games are just absolutely brutal for the Chargers. If this, excuse me, for the Broncos, if this team does not, I mean, you've got to win 3. You got to win at least 2 of those 3 games. Talking about Falcons, Raiders, and Browns. All of a sudden, if you can beat the Chiefs, that would literally change everything. To that point, you try to win 3 of those 4, because the last 4, I mean, 2 of them are on the road. Like, really, you want the Chiefs game at home, obviously, because it's the best team of the 4. And then you have the Colts, right? A game you've got to win. And then at Los Angeles, at Cincinnati. So very difficult schedule. Very, very difficult.